So this episode is dedicated to any web developer or web programmer out there that needs something to think about next time they want to be worried about another problem on the internet. Did you know Google can also see first-party cookies? My name is Steve Smith. This is TQA Weekly. I am a web developer and programmer. I actually run the websites for this show, so TQAweekly.com. I run the website zaxis.net, which is where all my photography stuff is. And of course, alt123.ca, because I'm a Twitch streamer, and that's where I post a lot of my Twitch streams anyway. Here's the thing. I, as a web developer, I mainly do server-side stuff. So I balance out user functionality, security, and I also go after things such as statistics, because that's what you need when you're running a website. You don't want to waste your time on topics that nobody wants to hear about. And of course, I need to be running advertisements against my website because nothing is free on the internet. No matter how you think about it, there's always a product somewhere. And because of the GDPR last year, anybody serving content to European Union citizens has to actually get their consent for anything beyond basic stats and non-personalized ads. So I ended up having to use a tool called the Google Tag Manager and learn how to use it properly. It's a really powerful tool that allows you to basically accumulate all of your other Google code and put it inside of there and set up various variables to have all of their code behave in a very specific way depending on the fact of whether they're consenting or not, or other variables that you could set, obviously. The issue is not that I have a problem with Google Tag Manager being able to see my Silk-tied cookie, because the variables that are used in the Silk-tied cookie are, by the way, that's the cookie consent tool, they're either set to yes or undefined. So there's no personal information. If it was my session ID, I would be a lot more worried, but I have that one set correctly. So my problem isn't with my website per se, because I take a lot of care when I'm coding and even thinking about the code and the program and how it needs to work before setting anything. The problem is that there's probably somebody out there that just used the basic cookie setting option in the manual, and they're missing flags that would prevent this from being an issue for another thing that I'm going to get to. So the Silk-tied cookie does not set the secure flag to true and does not set the HTTP only flag to true either, which is why Google Tag Manager can see it. Because here's the thing. JavaScript code on a web page can only see cookies if the HTTP only flag is set to false. And only code running against a HTTPS source could see cookies that are required to be viewed over the secure flag. So being set to true, by the way. So let's get to the point. So it's not a problem with how cookies are implemented. It's a problem in how the web developer implements the cookie setting and their use case scenario. If a website is setting these HTTP only false flags only to things like cookie consent, there's no problem. It's when there's session information that is a problem because of something known as cross-site scripting. Remember, Google, which you voluntarily end up putting on your website yourself, is able to see first-party cookies. And the only thing you need to be able to do if you are a malicious hacker is to inject code in the form of JavaScript to be able to rip any of the cookie information from the website. So if they could rip session information from the website, they don't need your username, they don't need your password, they don't need your multi-factor authentication token at all. They already have your session. So it has to be something that they all have to think about. And if you are a web developer and you're new to this, you might want to look up the manual on cookies and how to set it in the programming language of your choice and make sure it's set correctly, because you don't want to lose people's session tokens in this way, because they don't need to steal a database if that's all they had to do. And there's a few things that you could do with this. One, set it correctly to true for the HTTP only if it's session information, and make sure that only backend code could read the session information anyway. Your JavaScript doesn't need that kind of information. And the other thing is, just make sure your website isn't vulnerable to cross-site scripting in the first place. There are plenty of tools out there to help you test for this. But generally speaking, if your website does not accept content from a user or does not show content from any user whatsoever on the page by design, then you shouldn't be that vulnerable to cross-site scripting in the first place. But it's better to be safe than sorry in the end. This is just merely a thought exercise for developers to make sure that they're thinking about every single last vector and potential problem on their own website. And the other problem could be, FYI, SQL injection via the cookie. So, like if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, share with those that you think can benefit from this, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions for topics, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to my website, tqaweekly.com, where you can find other episodes like this. Use the search engine to find more. And of course, use the contact form to email me directly. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.